itself where we can see that and what would be the best practices. So that's the whole agenda here. Okay. So today we are going to cover these topics. So main topics here like your landing zone. Apart from these are like a single, but basically it is divided into few categories. One is your organization, then your environment, network sections, project sections, and then later on like your CI/CD and infrastructure as a code. So these all I'll cover in that section. So let's start. So before proceeding to the topics, I just want to tell you exactly about the landing zone. Normally what happens when any project comes, right? So first thing, like people will go for the discovery and the planning. But before build and migration, we have to set up few components. Like in the past scenario, how we used to build the data center or the basic things of your whole infrastructure. For example, VPC setup, whole monitorings, your logs, and what type of compute engine will be. So those basic things we will decide there, which region will be selected. So that's the crucial part. Once your landing zone is done, then only people can go for the build and migration. That can go as parallel also. Lots of build will be like as migration will be as is, and few build will be, for example, you will build and only data will migrate there. And just for the heads up there, like landing zone in Google, you of course with Terraform, you can do in all the cloud platform, for example, your Azure, Google, AWS. But they have a KCC also. It is not known to everyone, but yeah, last year it got like I think in 2020 March around, it was available for public. So it's a Kubernetes cloud config. It does the same thing what Terraform used to do, but is somehow native to the Google. It uses basically your Kubernetes to deploy all the landing zone. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do here is how we are going to deploy mainly in the environment. So we always deploy in the category wise, like I told you, organization and environment. Then only we will go for the project. Then only we will go for the service project. Then we'll go for the networks. So that's the same way I have divided here. So the first section I want to cover is the organization and environment perspective. So for in any GCP, let's say once a client has given as a super admin access and organization has been set. So what basic infrastructure we have to set? The first thing is your organization policies. Basically, no one talks about that, but this is very crucial. Normally what happens, once you put the organization policy on the org level or on the folder level, the same thing will apply to all the correspondence, like in a hierarchy wise, it will goes to your project and everything. For example, I can give you a few examples for like, you can restrict, let's say, I want to restrict everyone, so no one should create a service account in any project. We can do this from the organization policies. Lots of time what will happen, some resource will go and for test and R&D purpose, maybe they have the admin access, but they will create those things. Maybe this is clearly denied from the security as well as client side. But if we put the policies, no one can do, even you have the org admin permission. Let me, okay, I have to okay, I'll switch from this page to this page. Okay, because I just want to show you. So if you'll go to the Google site, just type like organization policies. Those are around, I would say around 50 or 60 organization policies. You can go here and go to the IAM sections and go to the organization policies. So you don't have to come with any new. It's just a matter of, you can see here around 62 organization policies are there, which you have to get approval from client. If anyone is pinging, okay, so here, okay. So you have to take approval from client. And then based on that, you have to enable. And lots of time you can, like, let's say on the top model you are having inherited, but the bottom level on the project, if you want to deny it, or you can do it from here. So you can edit it, and the inheritance you can disable it. So basically it will inherit like this. If you go to the IAM section and manage resource, for example, let's say this is your Accenture organization. I have only one project, but there are, in the real scenario, you will have different folder structures. Inside that, you have a different project. Gradually, it will inherit based on that. Okay. Anything on this organization policy?
No.
Okay, wonderful. So this is the first section we used to do. And after that, we used to go for roles. IAM is another part I'll cover later. I don't want to start with IAM section, but yeah, let me, then again. Then there are few roles. In GCP, the biggest, I would not say problem, but the biggest thing is here, you cannot do anything if you do not have a proper roles. So two things is very important. One is your API enable, and another part is assigning a correct roles. So normally in a best practice situation, we will have a groups, and that group will have us different type of access, like org admin, policy admin, folder admin, shared VPC admin, that I'll cover later, billing account admin. Because if your ID is not having those permissions, even though let's say your service account is not having, you cannot even create any project. Maybe for example, it will not connect with your billing account. These are like a practical situation. When you will deploy, you will start finding, okay, where is the issue? Sometimes it will show you some errors, but not always. So these are roles. So we'll set organization policy and then roles. Roles will be again in the same IAM sections. You can go there. Google has recommended few roles. So they have the list of roles. Let me show that. So if you type, okay, this is also very important. Let's say lots of time, client will say, hey, what type of role I should provide to this group? Let's say someone will say, hey, there is a cloud admin team. There is a network team. So this page will give you all the details. Just type GCP roles. But if you go down section here, they already have given the best practices for, let's say someone will say, okay, I want a compute engine roles, what I should attach there. So once you click here, they will give you all the basic roles here. And based on that, you can provide access to people. Because I have seen people, they are struggling like, okay, what role we should provide, or client will come with say, okay, he should create something, but he cannot delete the snapshot. Just I'm giving you one example. So normally people start looking for where to see that. So Google has done good thing here. They have given product specific IAM documentation. But if you want to see everything, you can see it's a very big page, around I think around 4,000 if you'll put in Excel sheet, this part. Okay, let's go here. Yeah. Now another section here is, so right now you can log in with your super admin account or with your local account. Let's say the third part is, now client want you to get authenticated from their existing domain controller. Now I have given two scenarios here. So one is your, let's say for example, you can see this here is right side is your Google, left side is your on-prem. In this scenario, your domain controller is in on-prem itself. So you can use a Google Cloud Directory sync, and then rest of other resources can be authenticated from this itself. They have, you can go with this link, they will have like some sync period, and they will put cache and all those things. So it's a good one. So lots of people wants to go with this. So second, this is third part, what we used to set up. Another way is lots of client normally will use a multi-cloud. For example, someone is having Azure first and then they want to move to Google. I've seen lots of people because of cost and lots of things, they started moving from Azure to Google also. So in that scenario, they really don't want to again invest in this type of thing or the Active Directory part. So what the another option I'll show you here, where you have the on-prem and this is your Azure AD. Now Google can directly connect with your Azure AD here, and the same rest of the resource can get authentication from that. So this two scenario. There is another scenario also where you can use a third party. Also rest of the scenario, like you can deploy the additional domain controller on the Google itself as an instance. And then you can point everything there and the main role will be somewhere around your Azure AD or on-prem. It depends on the AD structure. Okay. Moving to the next slide now. These sections, okay, now another part is apart from your organization policy, there are one thing we call as a VPC service control. Why I put this in the organization policy? If someone is pinging anything, please speak because I'm not seeing there. Okay. So service control. So apart from organization policy, you will have a service control options also. It's something like a perimeter. Let's say, for example, I want to restrict people that my, let's say, for example, I have the storage, Google Cloud storage, let's say. I have few files there and I don't want anyone from outside, even though I don't want any other project, Google project should access that. So what I can do here is I can create a service control perimeter bridge. So if you can see here, these bridge, if I'll create here in a DMZ parameter, only these people can access to each other, or in this private project, this BigQuery can only go to the Google Cloud storage. The same thing you can do into the IM section. There will be a perimeter service control part. So this is the another section. Lots of client is using this part. They will say, okay, I want to restrict this services. Someone will say they want to restrict their SQL. Someone will say they want to restrict their cloud storage and type of things. So that's the another crucial part, which we have to get input from the client as well as from the application team before deploying or creating the whole infrastructure. Because later if we'll go for, then there will be lots of issue, because this parameter will be created based on your subnet range. So any question till here? Okay. Okay. So after that, we'll go to the logging and monitoring. So logging and monitoring are again interesting part always. Even for let's say if someone is doing something, admin work also, we have to find the logs. Lots of situation when your application is running slow and type of, so lots and lots of situation where we have to check for logging or monitorings. So if you'll see this diagram, so basically these are all your services. It will go to the stack drivers, mainly your monitoring, logging, debug, and lots of things are there, but we will concentrate only on monitoring and logging. Let me show you here. Right now, previously it was like they have mentioned like a stack driver. Now they put it under the operation. So if you'll see the monitoring and logging part here. Okay. So logging, let me first explain the logging here. Before going to again to the PPT, let me show you one thing here. So normally what happens, whatever you will do, either on the console or you are doing a API call. Lots of time people will say, okay, I'll have the key and I'll request to the API, any API. All your activity will be captured here. And based on the categories, we can filter it out. So this is your one section. So if you want to see like a recent thing, you can easily see from here. And you can filter it based on your type of logs you want to see. So admin logs and anything anyone is deleting, editing, everything we can see it from here. But if you will go here in the IAM section and this, yeah, audit logs, yeah. You can do changes here mainly. So these are, if you'll see here, these are total services, 85 your APIs, which we can monitor. By default, audit logs for admin write is always enabled. You don't have to do anything there. But apart from that, if you want to check read, data write, everything, but that will generate huge logs. So you can see it from here. So you can do the changes. Let me go here again. Yeah. So logging and monitoring. So these are like your things what you have to do in logging. But broadly, if you see the logging part, your admin audit logs, basically it will monitor your admin console audits, user audits, separate API and UI. Google Cloud will, your all admin activity logs, it will check. Apart from that, data access log and then your stack driver logging agent and network logs. Normally, lots of people are always interested in this thing during troubleshooting actually. I've seen the situation when, let's say, security team or firewall team will say, hey, traffic is going. But where you will check that? Is it hitting on your instance or not? Those things you can check on your logs. So VPC flow log, you will go and you will check in the network section. So whenever we are deploying anything, we have to make sure that logs are properly enabled. Otherwise, what will happen? During issue, you are looking for your like a previous 6 hours, 8 hours or 10 hours log, but your logs has been configured for only 3 hours. Then you cannot troubleshoot anything. So these are small things, but it will impact during your issues or configurations. Even during migration also, one port is missing, now no one knows. So we have to find, okay, this port is dropping. So we have to ask team to, okay, please enable those ports. So these are logging. Okay, in logging section, okay, how it happens, like these are the different logs. It will go to the API and there is a cloud router. You can go in a two different way. One is exclusion filter will happen. Then in the log storage, it will be saved. Like I think it's a 90 days or 45 days, something. I think it's a 90 days. But apart from that, you can do a log syncs. For example, you have heard, okay, our logs will be saved to SIEM. So here you can create a filter and then that filter will sync with your SIEM or your Splunk or different things. So same thing you can do it here. If you go in the logging section, go to your logs router. So this is normal log sync. You can create a sync from here. And log storage, like left side section I told, this will put your default logs here and log routers where you want to create a sync. Why there's a 2, okay. Any question till here? I know it's early morning, but anyone? Am I audible? Really?
Yes, sir. Yeah,
Oh,
right.
okay. Good. So,
So, Anand, if I ask you one question regarding this, suppose from where we are getting the metrics for the logging, means if I get the threshold or metrics to monitor certain alerts or like that in my uh, GCP for a particular account. So where we can do that, how we can do that?
okay. So that will come under the monitoring section. In logging sections, any your logs, like if I go back here, admin logs, VPC flow logs, those are by default logs. So those data will never change. You have to. What you are talking about is the monitoring part. So basically your CPU, memory, HTTP IO ops, and another type of traffic, database queries, all these things you can set in the monitoring part. So one part is logging. Another part, if you go to the monitoring section here, you have a different way to set the parameters. Let's say you want to put the alert or something for your CPU, memory, you can put it here. You can put check the what is it, uptime checks. You can see your metrics explorer are there, alertings are there, so you can get direct alert from here also. But you can combine with some monitoring tools and they will again send the monitoring to your respective tools, ticketing tools. So here mainly you can monitor your instance, your load balancers, and those metrics you can define here.
Yeah,
Uh,
okay. Thanks.
yeah. So that's the reason we divided into the monitoring and logging section. So logging is this, and then the monitoring section, we have these parameters which you can configure. And normally what happens in the cloud monitoring, so right now cloud is so intelligent. If you remember previously, what we used to do is we have to install some agent inside the server, and that will directly connect to their ticketing tools, or not ticketing tools, that would be so their softwares, and from there it will go to the ticketing tool. But now what happens, by default you can install the agent somewhere we call as extension if someone has worked on the Azure. So once it is done and you have given the proper permissions, your monitoring will start. So this is the another section, and the last section for the organization and environment is cloud billing, because we have to set this part also as part of infrastructure. What happens, lots of people who is just doing build and migration, they never think about rest of the parameters, how configuration is happening, everything. But there's a small thing. So cloud billing, now here in the Google, it is little bit different from Azure and AWS. What you have a different method for your payment profiles. So normally what happens in the Google, you'll create one payment profile, and after that you can segregate your billing account based on your project, folder wise, however you want. Because if you remember, lots and lots of time what happens, if someone is missing the tags in your instance, that is your cost code, people will start, hey, what is happening, I don't know how much I have to charge to their internal application team. But if someone will plan well your folder structure, your organization hierarchy, and you create your payment profile well, you even don't have to mention everything. Automatically the bill will go to them. So even for client it will be easy to distribute to their all their internal application or teams or their organizations. So this is the cloud billing. On again the billing sections, you can see, I don't know in this I will have access or not, but you will go here in the billing. Yeah, manage billing. Okay, I don't have access here, but basically in this what will happen, just a second. Yeah, So in this, what will happen? There will be, you have to manage the billing. Now, during deployment, it's very, very important that we are giving a proper permission to the cloud billing group. Otherwise, no one can deploy not a single thing inside the server, in your project or anything. If your payment profile is not attached, it will not let you do anything. So you should have a proper access, either your ID or service account. Of course, we are not deploying anything with our personal ID. We are always deploying with the service accounts. Okay. This is a cloud billing. Now another part is your folder structure. So if you remember, when I have shown you here in the IAM sections and the manage resource, so we have to create a folder structure. So there will be different folder structures inside that. Your projects will be there. So every time client used to say, hey, okay, which folder structure we should, someone will say, hey, okay, create 5 folders top, create common, but there are few approach given by your Google itself. We have to select out of that 3 only. Either it will be environment oriented hierarchy. For example, this is, let's say this is your organization, let's say Accenture.com. And this will be my environment oriented, meaning let's say prod and non-prod. And after that, I'll subdivide into the projects. Another is your functional oriented, let's say application wise, SAP, non-SAP, then your networks, common folders. Another will be tiny bit. Basically, it will be the combination of environment and function in this sections. In this section, basically what we used to do is, like, let's say on the top folder, we'll say prod, non-prod. Inside again, we'll divide into the application structure. Now, when we are defining the organization folder structure hierarchy, just for the namesake, please don't do that. One of the best scenario, best practice, I would say, because just we have to do, don't do it. Ask client what they want, because what you can achieve from the folder structure basically. So you can segregate the billing and policy part. If you really want to achieve that, then only propose that thing. Don't make it full complex, like later if they want to add a one server, they will confuse where to put that server. And because of, let's say, SAP policy, will go to the non-SAP box. So just make sure, if anyone is recommending proposing client for the folder structure, just ask how their organization works, what is the segregation of their environments or business lines, and based on that you can recommend out of 3. And later on you can have a discussion how to and with a security also, other team also, how you can, like you are doing in an Active Directory, right? The policies, if one policy will go to the another server, whole thing, people cannot do anything there. Same goes here. So normal, if you'll see here in the IAM section, if you'll go to the manage resource, I didn't mention everything here, but let's say this will be your organization folders project. Inside this, your resources, for example, your instance, load balancer, database. Apart from this, in this section itself, I want to cover a little bit of compute engine, because I think people has already covered in SAP thing. But yeah, if you'll go here, these are the basic 4 categories for your compute engine. And you can easily see which one you need to use based on your requirements, CPU, memory, and things. But one thing I really want to tell everyone here, lots of time what happens, even application team don't know what to recommend. So it's our responsibility to ask everything. So I have seen the situation where in, let's say, SAP team will say, hey, I want the local SSD, right? But they will say, no, I want 2 CPU and 4 memory only. To go for a 2 CPU and 4 memory, we have to choose another compute instance. Maybe we have to go for a general purpose. Now in that general purpose, your local SSD will not be there because of cost cutting. Means client will say, hey, I don't want costly servers. It only requires like a 2 and 4 GB of memory. But still their requirement is local SSD. Now it's our responsibility to ask, hey, you want this? So you have to say, okay, the best possible option is you have to go with this scenario only. Sometimes I have seen they want a default bandwidth of 32 GB, but even the application team will suggest, because of they have to show the cost part, they will say, no, please go for this one, because they, they have means you have to pay, they have to pay less money there. Lots of time what will happen, okay, we'll say, okay, we'll do. But later on, the whole performance of your application will go bad because of the one small server. And because no one has raised these questions in initial time, then we are in very bad situation later. The same goes for your persistent disk. No one goes for 128. But yeah, total size I have seen means someone can cross, but 256 is enough TB. But we have to check these all parameters before recommending, mainly your bandwidth part here. It's not like a Azure. If whoever has worked on Azure, you will have your option for selecting in this, you have an option for selecting different scenario there. Cache, non-cache, you don't have much options here in AWS as well as in Google. So please make sure whatever you are recommending, you should ask question to the application teams. Okay, you have to ask them, please fill it, then only we'll proceed. And apart from that, inside also lots of questions. Lots of people will format the drive, D drive, without seeing the block size. Mainly this happens in a SAP team always. People don't know, and they will just, no one has asked, no one has given the answer, and they will right click and they will format it. It will be in a 4 KB, but they're looking for a 64 block size. Inside the server, your network card, you can change it to 16 and 32, but you have selected a 10 Gbps only. So nothing much you can do inside the server, right? So please make sure. Okay, so Kubernetes, I will not cover much, but yeah, we are going fully to the Kubernetes now. That cluster and GK we called in the Google. Lots and lots of things are getting deployed to Kubernetes. So please, whoever have time, we have, because there is lots and lots of best practices for your cluster creations, securities, and everything. And recently, Google has done two mode of deployment. One is your automated, and one is your manual. In automatic mode, what they have done is they have taken full control of your worker nodes also. So basically, you cannot see anything. Yeah, please.
Sorry to interrupt. I have a question from the compute engine part. So do we have an option to customize these VMs? Or, I mean, just like you explained, the number of CPUs, the memory and all, is there a way we can also customize and create a new VM?
No, you cannot customize in any of the cloud. If you want to customize, you have to go for a dedicated host. So in dedicated host is something they will give you type of server. There, whatever you want to do, you want 2 GB RAM, 4 GB RAM and 4 CPU, you can do. But in the compute engine section, you have to select machine types. So just look for the host mode basically. So there what will happen? They will provide you like whatever 300 GB memory and let's say 64 core CPU. Normally we use that type of thing basically for your legacy environment. Lots of times 2003, 2008 we cannot migrate. So and still client will say, hey, I want that server there. So we'll put it on the dedicated host. There you can manipulate with these two sections.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome. Kubernetes Engine, whoever is
Uh,
not, yes, sorry, please.
this is Sharmesha here. Good morning.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
So on the same slide, I have also one question.
Yep.
So in Azure, we have seen that we can add the disk, right? That P60, P40 and all that based on the supported disk SKUs and all the VM SKUs and all that. So likewise here, that kind of option is there, right? We have the different shares divided into the different disk type, right? The HANA share goes into the smaller disk type like P20 or something like that, and the bigger one goes on P60, P40. That is what I have seen in Azure. So what happens in Google here? How the disk things are distributed when it comes to the VMs?
Sure. So if you'll remember in Azure, you will have like a P, D's, different thing. But if you have seen the difference between the type is mainly on the input and output sections and how much you can extend.
Mm-hmm.
If you'll see all those sections, even if you are selecting P4, for example, still you can customize the size. Let's say P4 is, let's say 32 GB, for example, you can make it 38 GB. But in the Google as well as in the AWS, you don't have that options. So it is not like the same thing. Like if you remember, I told in Azure disk section, once you click the edit, right side, you will have drop down. You will have a 3 options, cache and type of
Right.
things.
Right.
So for your data, not data disk, what disk you call in SAP? So
It's a
for
persistent disk with the log mode.
log, yes, yeah, log mode, yes. So
Yeah.
there you will enable. But here, AWS and Google is not giving you that option. So based on your compute engine type, as well as this persistent disk type, you will get the default one.
Okay, so that is given already in any of the Google site that these are the disks that you have to use, because in Azure portal it is already given that okay, if this is a
Yes.
VM, these are the disk type that you can use it, and these are the supported ones. I mean, we can definitely customize it, but then is there any kind of a recommendation given by the Google from the disk usage point of view?
I can give you that link, but not
Okay.
like Azure. We don't have the
Okay.
same way like Azure in AWS and Google both.
Okay. Okay.
So it's
So there
just
is a
a matter.
limitation.
Yes, not limitation, I would say. These are like you will get same IO ops and everything, read and write and whatever, but they are not giving you option to customize it here.
Okay.
So it's a high performance already. Same you will see in AWS as well as in the Google. Because when I was also doing for Azure, it was surprise for me for one of the project. Okay, I have to select so many things.
Yeah, I mean it will be difficult, right? You have to get into the so many niche details to understand what exactly your server, and that too you have to do it for every server then. Let it be
Exactly.
the SAP application server and the database and all that. So, I mean, is there any recommendation site where all these things are given which will make our job a bit easy? Because from the architecture point of view, we have to design that, right, when we start any project.
I'll give you that link. Your life will be more easy in the GCP compared to the Azure.
Okay.
Because I have faced when I'll miss one of the parameters and SAP team will start saying, okay, their whole performance is bad. But your life will be easy in this GCP. I'll give you that link.
Okay, great.
Sure.
Thanks, Anand. Thanks for your input.
Welcome. Okay, so Kubernetes, please look for it. It's a future, lots and lot. Of course, SAP, not much. There is only one case study was published 2018, and that also I always forgot the SAP terminology. But one of the case study they checked to move on the Kubernetes, but not so successful. But I don't know about no white paper has been published in 2020 for SAP. Even I'm asking for Google as well as the AWS also, please provide any case study which any SAP environment we can move on the container or Docker. Okay. Now cloud database. In this sections, is clearly I have mentioned here. So basically you will have this much of the database. So normally your SQL, in this cloud SQL, you can cover MySQL, PostgreSQL and SQL Server. and Cloud Spanner. And then you have a big cloud table, file store, memory store, MongoDB, and bare metal solution always like you people always used to go for HANA, like your own instance you are deploying. That's a bare metal solution. So these are just, I want to show you like these type of cloud database Google is providing. In normal case, people used to go for a SQL, means your cloud SQL type of things. But these are also in use, big tables, mainly for your where analytics has been done, or for lots of things like a live data capturing. So in those scenarios, we can use for gaming here, memory stores. So just want to give you a glimpse of this. Okay, I have only 30 minutes. Okay, so this is the networking section. Okay, this is a very important section, of course. So I'll cover the main section here. Okay, so networking section is completely different from Azure, as well as not completely, I would say that will not be a correct statement, but it's a different from your AWS and Azure because of the shared VPC. So whole concept is like you can use majority of time you have to use a shared VPC. So that will make your things different there, and because of the shared VPC, your pairing and everything will be changed. So I have given this like in a cross project communication, say one project to another project. These are the three methods you can do, either with the shared VPC, VPC pairing. Everyone heard about a VPC pairing because we used to do in Azure or AWS everywhere, and a cloud VPN. So just rest of the section is given here, like how many projects you can connect and all those things. Now shared VPC is a very important section, and just I'll give you here what will happen here. So you will have a one project, host project, or called it any project. All the network sections will be here, and then you will have a different service project where you will give the permission so this project can see this subnets here and they can create a compute engine. But if you'll go to in this project, you will not have option to edit anything on the subnet level. Okay, one thing also, like in Azure and Google, AWS, you will have a CIDR range for the VPC itself. On the top, you will have a CIDR range, let's say 10.00 by 16 something. Then you will subdivide into the subnet part, right? In Google, we will not have any CIDR for your VPC. Only you have to define in a subnet part. So shared VPC, again, the roles part, I want to say roles here. Shared VPC roles is a org level role. So you have to enable in an organization part, not on the project level. Those are few tricks when you are deploying. And if you don't have X something permission name is like X VPC something is there, you cannot even enable the shared VPC. Network pairing, I think you are aware how it works. But the only thing is, if you'll see here, in this scenario, if I want to do the pairing, how we will do? Do I have to do with the service project or we have to do with the host project? So we have to do with the host project. That's the only thing I want to tell here. And these are the best practice, common best practices, like you should not have an overlap IP. If you have a different VPC, you can do it. But once you do the pairing, you cannot do it. And then subnets, VPC, these are the all those things you can see here. Okay, now this section is mainly like how you can connect connectivity options you have. One is your VPN. You can connect with, let's say, on-prem or another cloud itself. Interconnect is your on-prem itself. With the high speed 10 GB to 100 Gbps based on what client wants to pay or what is the requirement. And another is pairing. You can do it. So this three sections use your connectivity options. Please stop me somewhere because I have 9 minutes. That's the reason if you have any question. But yeah, I will cover what I want to cover is I'll go in the next sections. NATing solutions is mainly, let's say, someone will say, hey, I don't want to give whole internet to my all the environment. So you can enable a NATing for one subnet. The same goes like your AWS. You can enable with the specific IP or whole subnet range. This is very useful where client doesn't want your internet. They only want like a egress or something. And then of course the firewall. Okay, here best part here is in GCP, firewall rule can be implemented in 2-3 ways. Okay. So one is, if you remember, normally when we used to create a firewall, we used to give the range and the port and the destination and we'll attach it. But here we can assign with the tag itself. So let's say I created one firewall, I have given one tag. Now I just have to attach that tag to any of the instance, automatically it will start working. So that's the best part in this. And then VPC routes. So whoever is designing the complex connectivity options, you have to always take care of routes. Otherwise, if you cannot give the next hop, you'll be in a big issue. Now this section, I just want to cover one exchange, custom routes. So normal routes, let's say during the peering situation, normal routes will automatically import and exported. But custom route, you will have very big issues. And I'll tell you one scenario. Let's say I have 2 projects. Okay. In one project, you are having, let's say, load balancer. Okay. And you created one routes, custom routes. The problem with that is, in peering situation, lots of route will not automatically exchange. In this scenario, if you'll enable import and export, automatically that routes will come here. So just keep this somewhere in your flag, whoever want to design anything in future. I'll tell you, you will face this issue. So you have to go with this section. So whenever you cannot, you will say, hey, my routes is not going to the different project. Just remember the custom routes, import and export. So what you will do is you will enable here a import, and here you will enable, you will create a custom routes. Automatically everything will be imported, because we have seen this issue, big issue, and it was like 1-2 days we're struggling how to get those next hop. Okay. Google has recommended few architecture for the VPC. So this is which I am showing is with a VPC pairing. Another will be with your VPN. So in small cinnamons, let me explain you a little bit here. This is your on-prem. This is connected, and this whole section. Okay, let me pointer. Yeah. So this is your on-prem, and this below section is your Google. Okay. This is connected with your interconnect. Best part is how they are doing here is they have the management host project. So, so this is the same thing here and here. It is for a prod, it is for a dev. So I'll explain this 2 sections only. So if you'll see here, they have a host project here, and they have 2 subnets here, like a shared VPC they have enabled, and they have 2 service projects, and this subnet will be exposed to here and here. And other thing, and then this will be connected with the VPC pairing and DNS pairing in the management. And this management service is again connected with another shared services. And this will basically connect with your on-prem. So if you will see my traffic, I'm not passing any traffic from here to here, or here to here, here to here. So let's say if anyone has to audit or do anything, they have to do in the single project. Maybe I have hundreds of projects outside in the here, but whatever we will do is here. And in the below section, if you'll see here, if you want to egress, lots of time people want your internet out. So you can do with your cloud NATing, like I told, or the egress proxy on L7. So when you are designing basically a landing zone, this VPC sections is always critical, because customer will always come with new requirement, and Sometimes it's not feasible, or you have to go close with that solution. Or maybe sometimes whatever the solution you are proposing, it will be very costly, because maybe you are giving 10 or 20 firewalls, Palo Alto device, and you are suggesting a multiple VPN. Okay. Then service account. Why I covered here service account? Normally, whatever you are deploying in the infrastructure, don't ever do with your ID. Because tomorrow when you leave, I don't know what will happen to that account. So always service account, and your ID or something will be mapped, binding will be done. Okay, we have 3 minutes. I think I can cover infrastructure as a code. Okay, so now these days, whatever we are deploying with code. We are not doing anything manually. So there are proper standards here. So based on that, we will only deploy. That's the reason I showed everything in a category wise. So this is the continuous integration. Basically, your source. There is a source cloud source repository. It's nothing like your GitHub. We have Google is having their own cloud repository. It's a wonderful, and then they have a cloud build. So cloud build is nothing. It same works like your Jenkins. So Google is having their own source repository, own cloud that will like a GitHub, own cloud build that is like a Jenkins, and then code will do here registry for the Kubernetes and everything, and then you can deploy everything here in this sections. These sections I just given, just if you want to see and explore more on that, mainly explore this two part. And actually this is also good when you are going for the Kubernetes and this one. A source repository, just I given the example how it is different from your, let's say this is your cloud one. This is considered as a GitHub, and someone is just deploying his own server and making it as a cloud repo. What is the main difference here? Cloud Foundation Toolkit. Okay, this thing I just want to show you. Okay, so lots of time what happens, lots of people when they learn Terraform or KCC, they will start building everything from scratch. Please don't do it. Already Google and people like us or you, everyone, we have already deployed or contributed. Go and use those templates. Just do the modification and do it. Otherwise, even you don't know what are the best practices. So, yeah. In this section, if you'll see here, any code, okay, so for that part, you have to just type like this, GCP, Terraform, GitHub. Go to the modules here. And here, let's say whatever types, you can see here, there are 64 repositories. So for example foundation, you can get lots and lots of codes, and they have given you a proper example of how to use the input files and everything. Please utilize this. Even Google is recommending to use it, but lots of things you will not get it here, few modules. So for that, maybe you have to create your own code. And the last part is just a code segregation I want to show you here. Whenever we are deploying, so whenever you people are creating the proposal document HLD, LLD, please do it in the category wise. Sometimes what happens, you will give this your HLD, LLD to the SMEs to deploy. They have to search everything. So if you'll see here in organization, we used to go for a policy, IAM, service control, logging, and billing setup. In environment, we used to set a folder, monitoring, based project creation, shared project creation, and restricted project network creation. In network section, we used to create all this thing, routing, NATing, DNS, and peering. And in project section, we used to create a service project, which will be attached to the base project. And then later on, your compute engine and load balancer is like later part. I'm already crossed 1 minute, so I'll give another 2 minutes. If anyone has having any questions, please feel free to ask. Sorry, means I have to rush because